Bienvenidos! Today we're going to talk about the present perfect tense in Spanish. The present perfect tense is kind of a misleading term because even though it's called present perfect, it's really talking about action that occurred in the past, in the recent past. And in order to form the present perfect in English, we actually use two words. We use have or has, and then the past participle. And it's going to be very similar in Spanish. So let's take a look at an example in English. I have given it to them. And in English, the present perfect is have given. Okay, and given is the past participle of the verb to give. Have is conjugated according to the subject. I have. So if it would have been he, then it would be he has given, or they have given. So in this example in English, we always use the past participle of this verb, and this verb is the one that's conjugated according to the subject. In Spanish, it's very similar. In Spanish, we use the verb haber to form the have and has. And then we use the past participle of whatever action is being described here. So in order to use haber in the present perfect, we have to know the conjugations of haber according to the subject. So the yo form of haber in the present perfect is he, tú, has, él, ella, usted, ha, nosotros or nosotras, hemos, ellos, ellas, ustedes, han. So these are the forms of haber that are used to form the present perfect. And then we need to know the past participle. Now keep in mind that there are irregulars in the past participles, so not all past participles are regular. So, and the other thing to keep in mind with past participles is when we're forming the present perfect, these past participles always end in O. They're always singular masculine. They don't agree in gender and number with the subject. They just end in O masculine. So let's put this sentence into Spanish. I have given it to them. Now, in Spanish, a is the only form of haber, or it's only used with o, yo. So we can leave off the yo if we want to. So the yo at the beginning of the sentence is optional. And we're going to use a to describe I have. Yo he regalado, given. Yo he regalado. Now in this sentence we also have indirect and direct object pronouns. I have given it to them. Direct object is it. Indirect object is to them. In Spanish, these have to come before this whole verb phrase. Se lo. They're your pronouns. Yo se lo he regalado, and then optionally a ellos. You know, in Spanish we can still put the indirect or direct objects after the verb phrase optionally, even though we have the pronouns before. So the present perfect of I have given is yo he regalado. If we have indirect object pronouns in Spanish, they go before haber. Let's look at another example. Have you already seen the teacher? So what's our present perfect in this sentence in English? It's going to be have seen. And notice how again, in English, we have and then some other words and then seen. In Spanish, these two words, haber and the past participle, will never be separated. But in English, sometimes we do. So let's take a look at the Spanish. We know that haber is the you form. We're going to just say it's the tu form. So we're going to use has. And the past participle of seen is visto. Has visto. Those will always be together. Now, the already, okay, in Spanish is ya. This is also going to go before the verbs. Already, have you seen the teacher? Ya has visto a la maestra? So we have the already before the verbs and the personal a, because we're talking about the teacher. If we wanted to put tu in here, where would it go? It would not go here between has visto. It could go before or after, and I would put it after. Tu has visto tú a la maestra, ya has visto tú. So we could put tú here if we wanted to. That's optional. But just know that in Spanish, these two verbs always are together. Let's look at another example. She has always had good friends. The present perfect in English is has had. In Spanish, ella siempre ha tenido buenas amigas. Again, this word moves to before the verb phrase. We haven't eaten lunch yet. The present perfect in English, haven't eaten. Notice this is negative. So in Spanish, when we want to make something negative, we're going to put no in front of it. So we're going to say, no hemos almorzado. And notice that the no comes before the verb phrase. In English, if this weren't a contraction, it would be have not eaten. Again, the not becomes no and comes before the verb phrase in Spanish. There have been problems with the book. Now, in Spanish, we use the past participle of haber to talk about things that have been. Ha habido unos problemas con el libro. Even though the problems are plural here, when we're talking about have been or has been, we always use the singular form of haber for the first part of the present perfect. So it's ha habido unos problemas con el libro.